This film is based on a true story. Lisa Stasi calls her ex's mother from a motel room and accuses her of trying to take Tiffany, Lisa's little daughter, away from her. Someone has also forced Lisa to sign 4 sheets of paper. Colette Dennings denies ever trying to gain custody of Tiffany. When Lisa hears someone come back, she hangs up. In 1993, Heather is being raised by a loving adoptive family. The girl often wonders what happened to her biological parents. Heather's adoptive parents, Jill and Mike Robinson, promise to tell her everything once she is a little older. The family visits John Robinson, Heather's uncle and godfather. He is the man who found such a wonderful family for her and helped arrange the adoption. They have not seen John in a long time because he has been sick for a while. Heather is sure that she is very lucky. John tells her that she is special and different from everyone else. The girl asks why. The man only says that when the time comes, she will learn the truth. In 1985, John is out on parole. He has been convicted several times of theft and fraud. John assures Lena Coy from the parole department that he has changed, but she has serious doubts about it. John is a dangerous repeat offender. After his release, he started his own business providing consulting services. When Lena Coy reasonably asks what kind of consulting he actually provides, John gives an evasive answer. Various kinds. According to him, he also volunteers at women's shelters. Lisa Stasi and her daughter Tiffany are among the people who came to him for help. Recently, Lisa wrote a letter saying that she and Tiffany were doing well. Lena Coy feels that something is wrong and contacts Lisa's ex's mother. According to Colette Dennings, John Robinson, who introduced himself as John Osborne, promised to help Lisa earn her high school diploma and find housing. He temporarily put her up in a motel. Shortly before her disappearance, Lisa called Colette from the motel and accused her of trying to take Tiffany away. Lisa also mentioned that she had been forced to sign 4 sheets of paper. She hung up right after someone else came into the motel room. Since then, there has been no word from her. Sometime later, Colette received the exact same letter as the shelter where Lisa had been staying. Supposedly from Lisa herself. The signature may belong to Lisa, but the words definitely do not sound like hers. Colette points out that Lisa had been forced to sign 4 sheets of paper. One way or another, this was enough for the police to stop treating Lisa as a missing person and call off the search. Lena contacts Lynn Jessup, Lisa's mother, who also received a letter. Lynn has no doubt that it was not written by her daughter and that John is directly involved in what is happening. Lena immediately calls Detective Jenna Cormack and asks her for the case files on Lisa Stasi. However, Detective Cormack does not recognize the name Lisa Stasi because the police have been investigating the case of 19-year-old Paula Godfrey, who disappeared in August of 1984 after responding to a job ad that John Robinson had placed in the newspaper. When Paula was reported missing, her relatives began receiving typed letters signed with her signature. Unfortunately, there is still no solid evidence against John. Lena feels that John did something to these women. Theft and fraud are only the tip of the iceberg. Jenna assures Lena that they will catch this man soon, but they need time to back up their words with evidence. Lena has no intention of waiting and starts her own investigation. There is another suspected victim, Catherine Klimpenpitt, who also responded to a newspaper job ad placed by John Robinson. The girl's family also received typed letters with handwritten signatures. Lena is forced to tell Lynn Jessup, Lisa's mother, that John has been released on parole for good behavior. Lena did everything she could, but the decision was not hers to make. In the year 2000, Heather is a typical teenager who feels like the whole world is against her. The girl often argues with her adoptive mother since she gets along much better with her adoptive father. On top of that, Heather may be expelled from school for bad behavior. The family is getting ready to go to a relative's wedding in another state, so mother and daughter go shopping for dresses. Jill hoped this would be a fun moment, but Heather clearly is not thrilled. She hates dresses and would rather wear jeans. After all these years, 2 detectives visit Lena Coy in connection with the disappearance of a young woman named Susette Truton. She vanished after taking a job with John Robinson to care for his father. Even though his father had died long ago, back when John was still in prison soon after Susette stopped contacting anyone, her mother received a type letter supposedly from her. Given that Susette did not know how to type, someone else must have written the letter. Lena Coy is not surprised in the slightest that John has gone back to his old ways. Or maybe he never stopped at all. He has not even changed his modus operandi, believing himself to be untouchable. The police never arrested John because he gave a statement claiming that Susette had run away with some man named Jerry. Lena knows that Susette is not the only missing woman. She has been keeping an eye on John for 15 years, ever since he was first sent to prison, and she has devoted the lion's share of her career to trying to get some agency, any agency to take action. The detectives assure her that this time they will not let John escape justice. Meanwhile, at the wedding, John gives a toast in honor of the newlyweds, mixing in witty jokes and making the guests laugh. At one point, John winks at Heather. The girl really does not want to be there, but Jill does not let her leave since it would be rude. John asks Heather for a slow dance. The girl, who has seen her uncle only rarely, feels awkward. John, for his part, says that she can come to him any time because they are family. He also scolds Heather for the way she treats her adoptive mother. Many years ago, John promised to tell Heather why she was special, and maybe now she is old enough to hear the truth. But their conversation is interrupted by Mike, who asks his adoptive daughter for a dance. The next morning, the family is getting ready to head back home. John and his wife, Karen, see them off. Heather feels a little disappointed that her uncle never revealed the secret to her. Maybe they will be able to talk longer next time. Meanwhile, the police are trying to obtain search warrants for 2 of John Robinson's properties, his house and his farm. He is under round-the-clock surveillance. The police's main goal is to find Susette Troughton alive. John has allegedly been abducting people since the 1980s, and someone has to stop him. Heather wants to see her birth certificate so she can learn the name of her real mother. Jill tries to stop her, saying that Heather is not ready yet. But Heather does not care because she does not consider Jill her mother, while she loves Mike as if he were her real father. Heather tells Jill that she was never meant to be a mother. These words hurt the woman deeply, but she still tells Heather the truth. Her biological mother passed away voluntarily in a women's shelter, and John told them everything. Heather refuses to believe it, thinking that Jill only wants to hurt her. But later, after overhearing a conversation between her adoptive parents, the girl realizes that it is true. Heather calls her Uncle John and asks if he knew her mother. He confirms that he did for a short time. After little Heather was left an orphan, John advised his brother Mike to adopt the girl because the couple could not have children of their own. According to John, Heather's mother's name was Lisa, and she was deeply unhappy. That is not enough for Heather. She wants to know everything about herself. The man says that if she wants to know the real truth, she will have to come see him. Heather does not have to tell her adoptive parents because it is easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. John will send her a ticket if she decides to come. Susette's mother receives another type letter signed by her daughter. It says that the girl is traveling with her new boyfriend, Jerry. The woman immediately takes the letter to the police. The district attorney insists that this is not enough to arrest John Robinson, but it is enough to get a search warrant for the suspect's house and farm. When a large number of police officers show up at the Robinson house, Karen is confused and does not understand what is happening. John assures his wife that it is simply some kind of mistake. Either way, he cannot interfere with the investigation. Documents bearing the name of a certain Izabela Luica from Poland are found on Jay's farm, along with 2 bodies in barrels. John is arrested. The search continues and more evidence turns up, including a blank sheet of paper signed by Lisa Stazzi. When Lena Coy learns of Jay's arrest, she cannot believe it at first. One of the bodies is believed to be Susette Troughton, while the second is still unidentified. The autopsy will determine that by tomorrow, this will be national news. When Mike is told about John's arrest, at first he thinks it is a cruel joke, but very soon it becomes obvious that this is far from a joke. John is also suspected of involvement in the disappearance of Lisa and her daughter Tiffany. Heather cannot wrap her head around the fact that her kind uncle has turned out to be a serial killer. Meanwhile, Mike and Jill try to process the fact that John took Lisa's life and gave her daughter to them for adoption. Mike believes that they need to go to the police as soon as possible before they are suspected of being involved. They do not understand how John could have done this to them. More than anything in the world, Jill is afraid that Heather will now be taken away from them. Realizing that she is the missing Tiffany, Heather feels her entire world collapse. This case is all over the media. The families of the women whose disappearances John is suspected of being involved in receive the devastating news. Most likely, all of them are dead. After the preliminary examination, the coroner confirms that one of the bodies is indeed Susette Troughton. All the identifying features match. The second body appears to belong to Isabella Luica. Jill and Mike voluntarily come to the police station to give statements. A DNA sample is taken from Heather to confirm that she is really Tiffany, Lisa Staszi's daughter. Heather begins to realize that all these years to John, she was nothing more than a trophy, something he could look at and always remember what he had done. Mike and Jill paid John $5,000, supposedly to cover the adoption expenses. The man explains to Heather that she is the best thing in his and Jill's lives, and they will not let anyone take her away. The district attorney holds a press conference. The entire country's attention is focused on this case. Since Tiffany's adoption papers and birth certificate were forged by John, once the DNA test results come back, the girl's biological father, Dean Staszi, will legally assume custody. Mike and Jill are not her legal guardians. The police continue the investigation and soon find 3 more bodies. The district attorney makes another statement. At this point, the number of Jay's victims now stands at 8. The district attorney also mentions Tiffany Staszi, whose fraudulent adoption story has become a sensation. The girl's entire life has been split into before and after. Time passes, but none of Heather's biological relatives has made any attempt to claim custody. Heather's biological father has not filed for custody, but he has not given up his rights either, which means that the question of the girl's future remains in limbo. Heather wants to stay with her adoptive parents, so she is determined to talk to her biological father and put an end to this. After getting Dean's contact information from their lawyer, Heather calls him. He does not know her at all and is in no hurry to meet her, but he also has no intention of handing custody over to the Robinsons. The girl is desperate and constantly thinks about what John did to her biological mother. Behind the mask of a kind uncle, there was a real monster. In 2003, Heather is seeing a therapist and tries to stay away from people. Wherever she goes, everyone stares at her. Since the adoption papers were forged, Heather can no longer attend school in this state or even get a driver's license. Her adoptive parents have hired a tutor for her. Heather feels trapped, constantly afraid that one of her biological relatives will show up one day and take her away. John was right about one thing. Heather is special, but she does not want to be special. She just wants to live an ordinary life. Mike testifies at the trial of his brother John. The day Mike and Jill first saw 5-month-old Tiffany was one of their most cherished memories. They wanted to begin their life as a family, but it all turned out to be a lie from beginning to end. After the hearing outside the courthouse, Lynn Jessup, Lisa Staszi's mother and Tiffany's grandmother, approaches Mike and Jill. Later, the couple tells their adoptive daughter about it. Lynn would very much like to meet her granddaughter, but Heather is not sure she is ready for that yet. It was the longest trial in Kansas history, but the jury needed less than a day to return a guilty verdict. John will pay the ultimate price for his monstrous crimes. Heather continues her therapy sessions. They give the girl the courage to meet her grandmother. Lynn shows Heather her mother's room, as well as Lisa's journal, which she had made for her daughter. Seeing photos of herself as a tiny baby, Heather cannot hold back her tears. There is only one entry in the journal because Lisa never had the chance to fill all the pages. But this could be a new beginning for Heather. Grandmother and granddaughter hug each other tightly. This is far from their last meeting. The detectives leading the investigation personally thank Lena Coy for caring enough to act. Perhaps she prevented dozens more deaths. After all, John would not have stopped. This whole story makes Heather understand that she has and always has had a mother. Jill, Heather by the way, earns her high school diploma after completing homeschooling and passing her exams, and the girl is not upset at all that she will not have a traditional graduation ceremony. The most important thing is that her family is by her side. John is the last person from whom Heather ever expected to receive a letter, but then it happens. In his letter, John claims that he never harmed her mother or anyone else, and that he was only trying to help Lisa. Heather crumples up the letter, knowing that every word in it is a lie. Finally, Heather turns 18, which means she no longer needs legal guardians. But Mike and Jill can still officially adopt her. The girl says that she truly wants that they are her family. Heather is ready to move on, but she will no longer hide from the past. She meets Lena Coy so she can meet in person the woman who did not give up even when the police almost did. Heather also visits her biological mother's gravestone. Although Lisa Stasi's body has still not been found, the girl will never stop searching. She is no longer a missing child.